Hello, my name is McGurn. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I've worked with Ireland Rugby for 8 years. I've worked in professional rugby league, international rules, professional boxing. I've worked with Hull City, Everton and Leeds United Football Club. Today we're going to go through some drills with the foam roll, and we're going to use our international athlete Darren Hughes from Monaghan. Okay, our first exercise today, we're going to use the foam roll, and we're going to look at using the foam roll on the quadriceps. So Darren, if you get into the prone position, place the foam roll at the top of your quad. Now when you're doing the foam roll, what we want is long, slow, methodical strokes, and Darren's going to roll the foam roll from the top of his thigh to just below his knee, putting a lot of the pressure on the elbow, rolling back and forward. Normally what we prescribe when using the foam roll is 1 to 2 minutes on each area. And rather than doing a long 20 to 30 minute session, we prefer if you did 3 to 4 to maybe 5 sessions a day of 1 to 2 minutes on the area. When Darren's rolling the foam roll along the quadricep, if he feels a tight spot, he can spend a bit more time and a bit more tension on that area. Now we're going to focus on the calves and the hamstrings. So Darren will put all his weight behind the leg, starting at the bottom of the Achilles, and he'll roll the foam roll from the Achilles right to the back of the knee. Again, using nice, long, methodical strokes. And a lot of the pressure he'll feel on the back of the leg. And once he's done the calf area, then we'll progress on then into the hamstrings, which is the back of the leg. Now this is very pertinent to a lot of athletes for recovery, because when they're exercising, the hamstrings do get very tight, and it can be used as part of the warm-up before training, and definitely as part of the recovery process after training. And once the athlete has worked in that area for 1 to 2 minutes and they feel that the muscles are starting to loosen up, that we've taken some of the tension out of the muscles, we can then progress now onto the glutes, which is the buttocks, is the area behind the lower half of the back. And as you can see with Darren here too, it does also incorporate a bit of balance work as well, because if the athlete isn't balanced, they could slip off the foam roll. That's good, Darren. And rest. The next area we're going to focus on is the adductors. The adductors is the inside muscle of the leg, going from the groin to the inside of the knee. And how you set up here is get the non-working leg straight, put the working leg at an angle, and then roll from the inside of the knee right up to the inside of the groin. Again, we're really focusing on long, slow, methodical strokes. And this can be quite sensitive for a lot of athletes because it's not an area that's very easy to stretch. So that's why using the foam roll as part of a warm-up is very, very important. And if Darren takes nice long strokes right to the inside of the knee, I'm going back all the way to the inside of the groin. Okay, now the next one we want to focus on is the hip flexor. The hip flexor is a very, very tight part of the body, which, again, after heavy training, tends to get very, very tight. And it's not really an area that physios or masseurs can get into that well. So using a foam roll is an excellent way of loosening up the hip flexor, which in turn will aid the recovery in the athlete. So the athlete sets it up as Darren has shown, just in the hip region, basically in the crease of where the leg meets the hip, and just really, really tight, short strokes, loosen this area up. Good man, that's it. And what he's trying to do here is get all the weight in that particular area and just use the elbow for balance. And then we move on there to the IT band. Now this is a particular area that a lot of athletes have problems with because it's a tendon that's very hard to get loose. And you'll find at the start, with most athletes get on the IT band, it can feel quite uncomfortable. But it's a process of sticking at it and keep working at it on a daily basis. And like we said earlier, for 1 to 2 minutes. And when doing the IT band, it's very important we go all the way from the hip, all the way to the outside of the knee. Okay, Darren, good, keep it going. And you're trying to transfer all the weight, all Darren's body weight, on the IT band and just resting on the elbow. This is a very important muscle to loosen up because it regulates the activation of the hip, the hamstring and the glute. And you'll find athletes who are very tight in their IT band, they lose a lot of power development. So it's important that's an area that we get nice and loose. We're going to use the foam roll now to do some upper body exercises. One of the main upper body exercises that we need to look at is our thoracic extension. Because basically what happens when a lot of athletes do a lot of anterior work, a lot of push, they get very, very strong in the anterior plane of the body. The only problem with that there is it actually pulls the shoulders forward a wee bit, and then you get tightness in the thoracic. When you have tight thoracic, your shoulders become rounded, and also there's an issue with breathing. There's an impact on your lungs, so your VO2 max function gets depleted a wee bit. So here's 3 exercises we're going to show you that will help you with your thoracic. So the first one is just thoracic rolling. So Darren has the foam roll in his thoracic area of his back, and he's just rolling back and forward. And that will loosen out all the adhesions and all the mini micro tears he might have built up when he's working on the anterior side of his body. So as Darren's rolling back and forward, that's loosening up all the muscles in that thoracic region, okay? The progression from that then is we do segmental thoracic loosening, where Darren will take each segment of his thoracic spine and just work that to loosen it up. So on the back of him loosening up all the muscle tissue, he's now working the actual segments of the thoracic spine. And basically he goes segment by segment and he just extends through the body. And then the third progression in this thoracic exercise is we'll put Darren on his side, we'll put his legs straight, put this leg straight down. He squeezes down hard on the foam roll. We'll put 2 hands together, palms facing together, and then without lifting his leg off the foam roll, he'll bring the back of the hand over to this side of the mat. And you only go as far as you feel a nice stretch and bring it back over again. And bring it back over again, and we'll do 10 reps either side. And what's happening here is that's loosening up all the thoracic region and also the hip flexor and the glutes at the same time. Do you feel that, Darren? Good man. Now when you're doing this here, it's very important that you don't go too far and cause pain. It should be a nice long stretch all along the thoracic. And obviously once you've done your reps on the one side, we'll flip over. If you just face that way there. So left leg straight, right leg squeezing on the foam roll. Palms together, bring the hand over. And again, this is loosening up all this area here. And this is actually a very good stretch for people who are sat at a desk all day and you're sitting at a computer or you're driving all day and you're a wee bit hunched over and you come home and you're feeling tight in your traps and your thoracic. It's a great exercise to loosen you up. And if you do 10 reps and do it twice a day, you'll see a marked improvement in your posture. Now we're going to look at a lat stretch. This lat stretch begins the foam roll under the armpit, and Darren's going to roll from the armpit just to above the rib cage. Again, nice slow methodical movements. This is a great exercise for people who swim, rowers who do a lot of pulling, and rugby players who do develop quite big lats. If your lats are very, very tight, again, it affects your upper mobility, so it's very important we get this area nice and loose. It can be quite a difficult area to hit. So like we say, if you set it up under the armpit, and nice long strokes from the armpit to just above the rib cage. And again, always focus on 1 to 2 minutes, and if you find any hot spots, spend particular attention on that hot spot.